们需要翻译吗？需不需要？这样子是需要还是不需要？需要。需要的请举手。好，那我们就今天请我们的翻译来，好 ，OK，Thomas。
How do we get this to work? Can somebody tell me? Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today during my trip to Korea and Taiwan. I'm actually very happy that John has put a picture of trees on the poster, because although I am a farmer, I was actually trained as a forester originally. And I probably wouldn't be an organic farmer if I hadn't trained as a forester. Because what forests and trees do is that they teach you to be humble. If you walk into a rice field, then you can feel as you are the master of the universe, because everything is down there. And everything changes every year and you're in command. If you walk into a forest, you become very small. And the trees live longer than you, and they're bigger, and they're very good at taking care of themselves. They don't need my help. And that understanding is important to understand the principles of organic agriculture, is that to put the same respect to all of this that you will put to all of that, the big tree. So thank you, John, for putting a picture of trees on the poster.
非常感谢今天有这个机会来这里跟大家分享。那我非常感谢主办人在这边放了一幅树的图案，因为虽然我现在呢是一个农夫，但是我其实是学森林系出身的。那么我觉得森林其实是非常非常重要的。当我们走进森林的时候，我们就会觉得自己有多么多么的渺小。而它这个主要的原理就跟有机农业是一样的，让我们有对大地的崇敬。
How does this work? I will not talk to you primarily about science today. I will talk more to you about ideas. Because I do feel that the world of ideas who come and they originate in the spiritual world or the political world, that they should be the agents of change in our society, and we should use science to choose between them. Science sometimes creates ideas, and that's very valuable, but the most important role of science is to enable us to choose between ideas. So what science can tell us is, that was a nice idea, but it won't work. That was an interesting idea, and it will work. So that is what we need science for. It is to enable us to choose between ideas.
所以，像政治或者是心灵上面的一些想法呢，其实是非常重要的。那我今天不会，就是我觉得科学是让我们来选择这些想法里面哪一个是好的，哪一个是可行的。
I am a farmer, and I've been farming for 27 years, but I actually grew up in the city. So I don't come from a farming background, and that's also why I probably don't look like a farmer. But that is sometimes a drawback. But if you want to borrow money, if you want to convince people, sometimes it's good not to look like a farmer. Look more like a city person. So I went to the tea experimental station yesterday, and they said, "You don't look like a farmer." So I'm terribly sorry. That's how God created me. That's how I look like.
我做了27年的农夫，可是我其实是在城市里面长大的。那这其实有时候是件好事，有时候是件坏事。昨天我去那个茶叶厂的时候呢，他们就说啊，你看起来一点都不像农夫。可是我说不好意思，可是就是这样。
Today, more than half of the world's population lives in cities, and the projections say that number will rise to 80%. That is a challenging statistic, and for many people, it is deeply worrying. It's usually seen as a problem, but maybe we should learn to see it as an opportunity rather than a problem. And that is what I will be speaking about today. It's about ways in which you can reconnect cities with their food supply.
今天世界上有超过一半的人都住在城市里面。那可能在未来有大概80%的人会住在城市里面。很多人觉得这是一个很大的问题，可是呢，我觉得我们可以试着把它转换成一个挑战。那我们可以重新发现一些方法，把这个问题跟有机的农业做一些结合。
Here's a bit of food statistics. Over the last 40 years, we've seen a huge increase in food production. These are FAO figures, and it is about plant food production measured in calories over the last 40 years. And the FAO splits up the world not only in terms of geography, but also in terms of political system. So you have Asia, Latin America, OECD, Middle East, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and former Soviet Union. And the agricultural statisticians in the FAO have found out that that's actually a productive way of looking at the world. So OECD is the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, Japan. So the Western economies, this is how they split it up. And as you can see, we've seen a substantial growth. And I congratulate you, ladies and gentlemen, that you are the most productive region in the world.
我们现在看到的呢，就是全世界的植物产量从1960到2003年。那他们把它不只是分成国家，然后也是用各种不同的政治系统来分。像最上面的就是亚洲，然后OECD 就是美国、澳洲、加拿大、日本等等。那在下面呢，可能就是南美、中东，然后在下面可能就是南非等等。那我们可以看到，亚洲现在就是世界上最大的植物产量的国家。
And my part of the world, where I come from, we come in third, not second, but third.
所以他说，他来自的国家呢，只是产量第3大的地方而已。
I'm not very good at this. Please stop. How do I press down? You press the 100%? No. It's just forward is maybe here. Sorry. Here you have the different regions printed out. And this is daily food production measured in calories for these regions. And you'll see that the OECD, well actually this is, this is, yes, where's Asia? Yeah, OECD. The only region of the world which is not able to sustain itself right now is sub-Saharan Africa. The other regions have enough calories per day, and some of us actually have more than sufficient calories. But this is really, I want to take it to the next picture. But this is where it gets interesting. You have production in calories per day up the y-axis and surface area per agricultural worker on this axis. So you see that the rise over the last 40 years in Asia has gone from 10,000 calories to between 25 and 13,000 calories. So this is the Asian growth in productivity. This is the Latin American one, and this is the OECD. So we started pretty much from the same level, but you have actually done a better job of raising productivity than the Europeans and the Americans. What they've been good at is actually substituting labor with fossil fuel. This is motorization. This is not mechanization, but this is the massive deployment of fossil fuels into agriculture. That is what has taken the productivity gains in substituting labor with fossil fuels. But they haven't done as good a job of raising productivity as your region has and as Latin America has. And maybe the most surprising thing is that the world average, the blue one, is in there. So you are more closer to world average than the OECD.
我们现在看到的呢，就是每公顷然后可以产出的农产品。那亚洲呢，其实是绿色那条线，就是产值量最高的。那 OECD 其实在每公顷的产值上面，比不上亚洲，而且整个世界的平均其实是比较靠近亚洲的产量。
And last comment before I go on. Here you can see that the Soviet Union has not been very successful at copying the OECD model.
所以苏联它其实是尝试在复制 OECD 的那个模式，可是其实它并没有很成功。
So industrial agriculture wasn't terribly good at increasing plant productivity per hectare. What it was good at was to substitute labor with fossil fuels, with machinery.
所以工业农业其实对于产值的增长并没有帮助，它只是用石油来代替人力而已。
But is that really such a good idea? Is that the perfect way forward to substitute labor with fossil fuels? In the early part of the industrial era, it may have been a good idea because it freed up labor to work in industry. It enabled agriculture to depend less on labor, but these days, industry is increasingly incapable of taking up the labor force of the migration from rural areas to urban areas. And India is an interesting example. There are more than 500 million farmers in India, and we don't need that many computer programs and call center assistants. We don't need that many to serve the rest of the world. It would not be a good idea for India to go down the OECD route and industrialize their agriculture.
所以这种用石油或者是用机器来代替人力的方式呢，在早期的工业时代是可行的。它是就是让更多的人力可以去做别的事情。可是像在印度的话，他们现在其实是有500万个农民。可是我们不需要这500万个人都去，比如说做电脑工程师啊，或者是做服务业。所以对于印度来说，以 OECD 这种用机器或使用力量来代替人力的方法是不可行的。
So my suggestion is that we enable ourselves to grow food in the cities and in the vicinity of cities, and that we create a food system to serve that purpose rather than have a separation approach that you have agriculture and cities separate. We should find ways of integrating.
所以我认为呢，我们应该找一个方法，在城市或者是在近郊里面呢来种植物或粮食。这样子的话，我们就不需要把郊外跟城市分开，而把它们结合在一起。
And we should find ways of integrating plant production and livestock production in the cities. This is a picture from Brazil where they actually grow the lettuce in not just raised beds above ground, but actually raised beds on sticks. And then they have chickens and pigs living underneath.
而且我认为不只是要我们不只是要种植物，也可以一起结合动物的养殖。像这个，你在上面可以种菜，然后下面你可以养猪或者是养鸡。